Okay, so the lesson objective for today, we're going to multiply monomials and polynomials. So starting off, we're just going to multiply a monomial with a monomial. This is something you guys already know how to do. This is what we've been doing, right? So if I've got 6y cubed times 3y to the fifth, I take my numbers out front and multiply them together. And then y cubed is just y times y times y, right? And y to the fifth means I have 5 of them. Y times y times y times y times y. So all together, how many y's do I have? 8. So 6 times 3 is 18, and then it'd be y to the 8th. So this is the stuff that you guys have already been doing, right? So just to make sure, this one's for your whiteboards. Okay, so it looks like most of you are getting it. 3 times 9 was 27, and then you had an m to the first and an m squared, which gives you m cubed. N squared and n to the first gives you n cubed. Okay, so you guys know how to do those, right? We've been doing those. We're comfortable with those. Feedback is appreciated. Okay. All right, so let's move on then, and let's look at multiplying polynomials. First, we're going to start off with just doing a monomial times a polynomial. So all that involves is using the distributive property. So we're going to use the distributive property, and then we're going to simplify it. So I've got 6pq, and then in the parentheses I have 2p minus q. So if I distribute my 6pq to the 2p, that means I'm going to do 6pq times 2p, right? And then I distribute it to the negative q, so I end up with 6pq times q, right? And so for my first term, 6 times 2 is equal to what, everybody? 6 times 2 is 12. And then I have p times p, so that gives me p squared, and then just the 1q. That's my first term. And then the other one is just a 6, so minus 6, p, and then there's 2 q's, so q squared. So if you're comfortable doing that first step in your head, you can. But if you need to write it out, then write it out, okay? So on your whiteboards, I want you to try that after you've written this one down. Okay, so if you do 4x times 3x, what's 4 times 3? 12. What's x times x? X squared. Then you're going to do 4x times 5. So 4 times 5 is 20, and it's a negative 20 because of the negative 5. And then there's just the 1x. Most of you had that. Okay, next one is for your notes again. Okay, so even though it looks like a lot of gobbledygook, you guys still know how to do this. We're going to take this whole thing and distribute it. So I'm going to take negative x squared y times the 6xy, and then I'm going to take negative x squared y times 8x squared y squared. So on that first term, I have a negative and a 6, so that gives me negative 6. And I've got x squared and an x, so how many x's altogether? 3, so x cubed. Then I have a y and a y, so that is y squared. Very good. Okay, so I'm done with that one. On the next one, I have a minus and a positive 8, so that gives me minus 8. And here we have, right, x squared and x squared gives us x to the 4th. And y squared gives us y cubed, yeah. Okay. Any questions there? Alrighty, on your whiteboards then, let's do that one. Okay, so you had to distribute. -3 times -5 gives you -15. A times a squared gives you a cubed. And then you have the b. And then we had -3 ab squared. That's it.